in Chapter 17, you really get the nitty-gritty of writing a paragraph and, even more importantly, how to put together an essay. Well, at least I'm putting that information in there. I don't know that it's in the textbook quite yet. But so what we've done so far as working with an essay as opposed to a sentence, you've chosen and you've narrowed your topic. You've written a thesis statement based on that topic. You're starting to form your purpose and what you're going to focus on based on your topic. You've already started generating ideas that you're going to use to support your thesis statement. You've also worked on how to organize your ideas, and you've outlined them so that you can kind of see the skeleton of your paper. So now it's time to add the meat to that skeleton. So what are paragraphs? Paragraphs are essentially a collection of sentences that all have the same purpose, the same focus, and are working together to make one point. So that's why you have multiple paragraphs within one essay. Your thesis statement is your overarching point in your whole paper. And then you use each body paragraph to support that thesis statement. So there are a few different types of paragraphs. As I just said, the ones in the middle, the bulk of your paper, are body paragraphs. Your introduction, of course, comes at the beginning. Your conclusion comes at the end. So this quarter, you're only writing 2-page papers. So your introduction is only going to be 1 paragraph long, and your conclusion is going to be, 1 paragraph long. And the amount of body paragraphs can range from 2, 3 to 4, around in there. But I don't want you to think that an introduction is always just 1 paragraph, or that a conclusion is always just 1 paragraph. That's not true. Your ability to introduce and conclude depends on the length of your work. For example, if you're writing a book, your introduction may be a chapter long, not a paragraph. The same with the conclusion. You might have an entire chapter, which can be 10, 20, 30 paragraphs worth of concluding ideas. Okay, so for this class, you're only going to have an introductory paragraph, you're only going to have a conclusive paragraph, and then a few body paragraphs in between. So those are the different types. Right now we're going to focus on body paragraphs because they are very different. I will talk about introductions and conclusions in the second half of this video series. So not in this video, in the next one. All right, so what is a paragraph composed of? Very basically, it's composed of a topic sentence. We're going to get into those. Those are just as important as your thesis statements. So it's composed of topic sentences, supporting sentences, transitions, and kind of a conclusive sentence. Okay. What is their purpose? To show progression of thought, to add support, and to make multiple points that prove your thesis to be true or correct. Okay, now each individual paragraph has a different purpose, but collectively all of your paragraphs are working to move your reader through your line of logic. So that's why you need to be careful on how you arrange them, how you arrange the information within them, so on and so forth. How many should you have? I kind of touched on this a minute ago. How many body paragraphs you have depends on how long your paper is going to be. The traditional 5-paragraph essay says 3. Well, you're not really writing a traditional 5-paragraph essay. If you have 2 body paragraphs, I don't care. If you have 3, that's great. And the longer, as you work your way up in the composition courses in college, you're going to write longer and longer papers. So your introduction might get longer, your conclusion might get longer, but your body paragraphs are going to become more abundant. It's not that the paragraphs themselves are going to get longer, but you're going to have more of them. Okay, so in this case, you probably only want to be covering 1 main idea per body paragraph. Sometimes when you're writing a longer paper, you might have 2 different elements of the same main point in 2 different paragraphs. So they're still connected, but they're not in 1 body paragraph. You don't want yours to get too long, so you might break it up. Okay, so how many you have really just depends on how long your paper is. You guys aren't working with too many. Baby steps. Once you get comfortable with them in this class, you'll be able to move on and work with more paragraphs as you move through composition, the higher composition courses. So how should you arrange the information within the body paragraphs? Well, that's up to you. What is your purpose? We've talked about narrative, we've talked about compare, contrast, process, all of that kind of stuff. So really, you're not working quite on process yet, but yeah, again, how you arrange the information depends on what your purpose is. Do you want the best information to come first or come last? It totally depends on what you want to do, but you do need to make a conscious decision about it. You don't want to just throw a bunch of information in a paragraph and say, oh, the reader will figure it out, because that's probably not true. And on the same page, how should you arrange all of your paragraphs within your paper? It still goes back to your purpose. If it's a narrative, you're probably going to go chronologically. If it's a process, you're going to want to go chronologically. With compare contrast, there are two different types of organization you can do. You can compare and contrast one main idea with both texts or whatever it is that you're comparing and contrasting in each paragraph, or you can do one at a time in each paragraph. It just depends on what you want to do and what your purpose is. So this last question, how is a paragraph similar to a whole essay? It's an extremely important idea to understand. So we know that a whole essay contains a thesis statement, a main idea, a main topic. You know that your essay has to contain support and development to, prove that thesis. And then you have to conclude. So a paragraph is the exact same. You have a topic sentence. It's just like your thesis statement, except it's only on the paragraph level. So your thesis statement covers the main idea that you cover in your entire paper. What is the overarching focus and purpose that you're writing about? That's your thesis statement. A topic sentence is the focus and the purpose of a given paragraph. But it's the same principle. You have to introduce that idea in some way. Then in the body of your paragraph, you're going to develop it and support it, just like your paragraphs are doing for your thesis statement. Then, at the very end of your paragraph, you need to close off that idea. You need to conclude it somehow, just like you need a conclusion at the end of your entire essay. That is how your paragraph is similar to a whole essay. They're different in, the scope, but ultimately, they're the same. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and end. You have to have support and transitions. You have to have a way to start and a main point that you're starting with, and then you have to wrap it up in some way. So hopefully that helps you kind of understand how they relate to each other. So what are topic sentences? Topic sentences are extremely important, just like thesis statements, but they can also be relatively difficult to write sometimes. So think of them as kind of mini thesis statements. Every single topic sentence that you have in your body paragraphs needs to be related and needs to support and prove your thesis statement. So where should they be? This is always a really important question. Should your topic sentence be the first sentence of your body paragraph? Should it be in the middle? Should it be in the end? Really, it's up to you. But for this class, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you put your thesis statement first. That's where I'm going to be looking for it. It takes higher writing skills in order to be able to have your topic sentence in different parts of your paragraph. So I'm not saying that you're not capable, but right now we're really working on the fundamental skills of building sentences and building paragraphs. You can do the same thing with your thesis statement. You can have your thesis statement in the middle. You can have your thesis statement at the very end, but it is much, much harder to have an effective essay when your thesis statement is not at the beginning. You might forget about it. You might never put it anywhere. And then you're left with a paper without a focus and a purpose. Okay? So I highly recommend that you put your thesis statement in your introduction, and I highly recommend that you use the first sentence of every body paragraph you have as the topic sentence so that I can see them and so that you can see them. And you should be able to go through all of your paragraphs and say, is this first sentence related to my thesis? Yes or no? It's very, very simple. And it does feel scripted and like you don't have any freedom or creativity, but I really feel that you can't have the creativity element of writing until you have the basic foundation and the basic skills in order to do that. So that's what we're going to work on here. So if you don't have your topic sentence at the beginning, you're probably not going to have it anywhere, which is not a good thing. You need to have your topic sentence. It's really hard to have your topic sentence somewhere else in your paragraph. So please put them at the beginning. So what else do? They give your paragraph purpose and organization. They tell your reader what that paragraph is going to be about, just like your thesis statement tells your reader what your paper is going to be about. So when I look at your paragraphs and you don't have a topic sentence, and they're built the same way as a thesis statement, you have your topic, it makes a point about something. Okay, so if I don't see a point in your first sentence, your whole paragraph probably isn't going to have a point. And I'm sure you've seen that I commented, oh, what's the point of this paragraph? Where are you going with it? And it's probably because you don't have a topic sentence. So it gives the focus and organization just like your thesis does for your paper. And so it states an idea that the rest of your body paragraph is going to support. So 3 characteristics that the textbook gives about topic sentences is that it has to be a complete sentence, of course, but it has to have a topic and it has to have a point. So it still has to be related to your thesis statement and your overall topic of your paper, but it needs to be arguing something or stating something very specific, okay? But as the next point shows, you don't want it too broad, of course, but you also don't want it to be too specific. It has to be something that you can develop within a good length of a paragraph. Okay, it also takes into account your audience and your purpose. And that purpose, of course, goes back to your thesis statement too. That's why these things are so critical to writing. If you don't have a thesis statement, your paper's not going to have purpose or focus. If your body paragraphs don't have topic sentences, they're not going to have purpose and focus. So your paper starts falling apart if you don't have these fundamental elements of writing. Okay, again, it may feel like you're being controlled and restricted, but really, if you don't have this stuff, more than likely, your essay is not effective. So, what makes an effective topic sentence? It transitions in some way from the previous paragraph. That needs to be part of your first sentence. I harp on transitions all the time, but this is why they're so important. So you can reference something from the previous paragraph and then introduce your new information. You can just you just use a single word sometimes, but when you're going from paragraph to paragraph, usually you need at least a phrase to move you from the previous paragraph. Whereas if you're going from sentence to sentence, you can say something as simple as, for example, or also, or although, nevertheless. One word can take you from sentence to sentence. Paragraph to paragraph might take a phrase, so do be aware of that. It tells your reader what this paragraph is going to be about. So what are you talking about next? Point A, point B, point C. That's how your body paragraphs need to move. It's just like your thesis statement. If you don't have your thesis statement in your introduction, or at least an effective introduction, your reader has no idea where you're going. And then if you don't have those topic sentences to help guide through the rest of your paper, they're still not going to know where you're going. Okay, and again, it provides purpose and focus to your paragraph. And so you kind of look at each body paragraph as an individual unit that you still have to connect together to create a whole. Okay, so each individual paragraph has to have its elements in order to work together to make an effective essay. Make sure your topic sentences support your thesis statement, and make sure it states an idea that you develop through claims and evidence. Okay, so what happens if you don't have topic sentences? You don't have focus and you don't have purpose, and your reader is left wondering, what on earth are you talking about? You've got 5 different ideas in this one paragraph. What am I supposed to get from this? That is what's going to happen if you don't have a topic sentence. It also offers no transition from the previous paragraph, and it offers no progression in your essay as a whole. Your paragraph your first body paragraph